speech long enough for you? You know, for decades, Nevada has been providing everything from what we want and what we need. And today we heard that we can no longer provide everything we want. And whatever we need, we're going to have to scrutinize closely to make sure that we have the revenues to pay for it. I think tonight was an example of showing how this state has fared over the last year and how this state has to work together to climb out of the economic downturn that we've been in. And we have that opportunity. We have the ability to work ourselves through diversification, out of this recession, and into prosperity. And with that, let me just open it up for questions.
Some of your proposals aren't going over well with Democrats or Republicans so far.
Which ones? Tell me so I know how to prepare myself to answer the question.
Mr. Horsford didn't seem too impressed with some of your proposals, like cutting 6% from state employees' salaries.
Well, you know, let me say that 6% salary reduction is a very, very difficult choice. But in the alternative to thousands of workers being laid off, I think spreading that over the mass of employees, and I myself am taking that same 6% reduction in salary as everyone else. It is temporary, but I want to keep Nevadans working. If Mr. Horsford has another answer, well, I'm happy to work with him on it. But today, I want to make sure that we don't have massive layoffs, and that's the proposal I'm staying with.
How about the higher ed? They say that the higher ed works out to 50% or thereabouts at UNR, UNLV, instead of the lower percentage overall.
Well, you know, as I look at this, we're still spending about over 13% of the general budget on higher education. That's compared to the national average of just a little over 11%. So Nevada is still putting more into higher education than on a nationwide level. I think we're doing well, and this is, again, temporary. We're all having to take these same reductions and deal with them effectively. We only have so many dollars. I am required by law to take the economic forum numbers and create a budget to present to the legislature. And simply put, I propose this budget. The legislature has the opportunity, and I will work with them to work through the budget and make those changes that I think and they think are reasonable. Now, we're not all going to agree on the same road to get to the same goal, but we are going to agree to work together.
Are there any things in this budget that you've submitted to legislators today that you aren't willing to flex on? Are there things that you would say are necessary in that budget?
Well, I think the things that I outlined. I think mental health is one of the areas that I want to make sure that we provide vital services for. I think the most important thing that a government does is protect the people, and therefore security, police, you know, more or less making sure that we don't necessarily open the gates of our prisons and let people out early onto the streets. Those are some important and almost inviolate types of demands that I think the public expects of their government.
Where's the money come from for the energy proposal?
Well, you mean the public-private partnership that we're looking at and trying to construct for Nevada's future? This is why we're creating that commission, why we're putting together a group of individuals who can identify the funding, whether it's from private or whether it's from federal grants, whether it's federal assistance in the bailout monies that we see down the road. We need to look at all sources to be able to do this. This is not just a government paid for program. This is something that's going to be creative, it's going to be innovative, and it's going to work with both public and private interest involved.
You talked tough on taxes today and no new taxes. Very strong in the speech. $292 million from a room tax increase. How is that possible according to what you said?
Easily, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a proposal by the people of the state of Nevada, and I will not stand in the way of the voices and the vote of the people of Nevada. If they propose it and it's passed by the people, and I have told you this since I began to be governor, that if the will of the people is such, I will not stand in the way. We still live in a democracy. So, as I may disagree with raising taxes, and I do. I will not stand in the will of the way of the public.
Governor, didn't you raise taxes on the people of Clark County by stealing $66 million from Clark County government?
Well, John, let me say that the answer is far less dramatic than your question. We are taking about 4 cents out of $3.50 in property taxes per home. That's
$66
4
million?
pennies. 4 pennies out of $3.50. And it is not fair to ask the people of Nevada, the state employees, the teachers, to take that same cut and not expect the rest of the state, including our more populous counties, and we limited it to counties over 100,000, and those are usually the more wealthy counties to begin with. I think 4 pennies out of $3.50 of their share of the revenue is a small price for them to contribute.
$66 million, that's small.
4 pennies out of $3.50, John. I think even you can calculate that.
How about,
One or two more questions?
on tax breaks, or rather taxing, tax breaks that businesses and other entities have been getting. The Democrats want to look at those, maybe get rid of. There are many of them. Are you open to that kind of?
Well, let me say that in my speech, I talked about the Sunset Commission that is going to look at government, both tax abatements and incentives, and to make sure that they're balanced, they're fair, and they create what they were intended to create, and that's opportunities for businesses to come to the state of Nevada. So I want this commission to look at this. I want this commission to be fair and look at the way we do business. And once we do that, I think we can expect that we're going to find that there are some old, antiquated tax incentives that no longer work, that aren't effective, or that don't do the job. But I also don't want to just cut across the board out some of these incentives that are bringing businesses and bringing jobs to the state of Nevada. We have a future, and that future is in renewable energy. And it may require us even to create new incentives, to create larger tax abatement programs so that we can build this renewable energy future for the state of Nevada.
Did that, by the way, include clean coal? I didn't hear you use the coal word anywhere in your speech.
No, you didn't, did you? Because we're talking about renewable energy. This is about Nevada's energy future. This is about tapping into geothermal, tapping into solar energy in Las Vegas
So you're
area,
opposed to
tapping into
coal-fired
wind
plants?
energy.
You're opposed to new coal-fired plants in the state?
Well, you know something, I'm not the one who's proposed it, but I know that there is a need for energy in Nevada's future, and that is, as I've been told by those proposing it, that it's the necessary bridge to get us into a renewable energy future.
In order. Education survive with a possible 35% cut.
Well, first of all, when you look at the state of Nevada's tuition, we are the second lowest tuition in the United States. There's only one area that has lower tuitions than Nevada for their state education system. That's Washington, D.C., and it's federally funded. Now, we will work with our universities to find ways to allow them to do creative things with their tuition, how they manage that, whatever the funds may result in. But yes, it's going to create stress, no doubt about it. But we have no literal alternatives.
Governor. Why did you decide not to fund the legal fight against Yakima?
First of all, let me tell you, Ann Jeanette, that you're absolutely wrong. If you look in the budget, there's $6.9 million per year going to the nuclear projects office, which means there's nearly $7 million a year to continue fighting our fight against the Yucca Mountain. I'm not cutting it out, and it was a mistake that I heard to say that we were. There's nearly $7 million in that budget.
The AG specifically requested funding to fund the lawsuit going forward. So
Listen,
that money's not in the budget.
We're going to have an audit of the Nuclear Projects Board that will show, I'm sure, as I've already been told by the preliminary numbers, that there is room to be flexible in the staffing requirements. We have not given up our fight in the state of Nevada. And $7 million a year is a lot of money for attorneys. And I'm just saying that we ought to be able to fight that fight on $7 million a year.
Thank you very
Governor,
much.
Thanks, everybody.